So 7th Acoustic is finally back with a budget IEM. It's been years. This is the RYUSEI, a collab with QOA. And the million-dollar question is, do these live up to the hype or are they just okay? Starting with the overall sound, the RYUSEI has a balanced natural tonality with a trailing sparkliness in the end notes that adds just enough coloration to give it quote-unquote sauce. For example, the micro details near the end of a word or a sentence gets highlighted and brought more into focus with an added sheen and shine to them, and you hear the air and the micro nuances in the artist's breath much clearer and just very, very textured. Which means this makes the RYUSEI amazing for vocals, since not only do they have great clarity, good extension, but it's also smooth in the vocals, not too forward, not too shouty, just slightly bright near the end notes of the extension to give it that airy shine and extra texture. These essentially remind me of a brighter version of the RS5s and have that familiar feeling of kind of getting hit by a shining beam of light, but just not as intense and forward and not as big in the stage, although you still feel the prominence of the vocals kind of like shooting out at you, but just like a little bit lighter now, less in your face with some added shine and some twinkle. Which means value-wise, as a vocal set, which is what I think you should use these for, they punch well above the price point. I prefer the RYUSEIs more than the Studio 4s, the Condenser 4s, the Vine 242s, even the EP321s, basically any IEM before the Arcanus, the EP550, original Oracles, because not only are these very well balanced, but it also has that extra little bit of gleam, that shimmer that kind of separates it from the rest of the balanced sounding vocal sets that are still good, but just like more safe, more traditional, and they're also much cheaper and comes with a pretty sick cable and pretty nice colorway as well. Now obviously every IEM has its imperfections, and the nitpicks of the RYUSEI is that the treble on more energetic genres like K-pop, J-pop, even modern pop and hip-hop can get fatiguing and feel a bit too bright because of the treble just peaking out when the rest of the frequency is pretty smooth. Songs like Butterfly by Luna, Yorushika, Spring Day, BTS, even some modern R&B like some Ariana Grande songs can come off as a little bit too artificial, too bright when it comes to the electronic elements, which means scaling wise the RYUSEI hovers around mid volume, around 60-65 dBs, with more exciting genres like K-pop, like J-pop. Do not crank these up, it's gonna hurt your ears. So my genre recommendation for the RYUSEI would be on slower, more vocal centric tracks like pop ballads, since these are basically made for Chinese pop ballads, but also stuff like indie, slow rock, vocals with mainly pianos and guitars, older pop and R&B, which allows the RYUSEI to kind of perform at its full potential, because those genres allow the mid-range and the artist to shine without the added on distractions. And because those genres are less boosted and energetic, the scaling also gets better as well, where I tend to kind of hover around like 75 dBs or a little bit more depending on the song, making the RYUSEIs very immersive. Now another nitpick of the RYUSEI would be the low end. Like, it's fine, it's well balanced, it's natural, not scooped out, engaging enough. However, the low end slam, texture, impact, weight is just okay. Like, it's not bad, it's not amazing, it gets the job done and doesn't bleed or bloat up the other regions, but I don't think anyone is getting these for the low end texture, the tactility, the weight. The EW300 would be the better bass C all-rounder set with better low end texture, more slam, but more comparison on that later. Then tip-wise, I like the stock white tips. I believe these are the KBR's KB07s, and it allows the treble to kind of pop out more, create that unique shine to the vocals that separates the RYUSEI from the other vocal IEMs. And other regular shape and size clear liquid silicone tips work as well, like the EPZ M100, the ultra clear, some spin fits. However, if you find those to be too much in the highs, maybe you're sensitive in the treble region, then the stock final ease it comes with tames down the high end by quite a bit, and it makes everything like smoother, darker, less fatiguing, safer, but at the same time it also takes away the shine and the sauce. Similarly, you can also use the Velvet to Venus if you want a little bit more emphasis when it comes to the low end. Also tames down the highs, not as peaky, but again, although wider and shorter board tips will decrease the treble on these, they do also take away the vocal magic. Now comparison wise, let's go back to the EW300s. If you prioritize low end slam and texture, the SIMGOTs are going to be a more dynamic and engaging set, not only in the bass quantity, but also the weight and tactility will feel firmer overall. It's more of an apple to oranges comparison. Both are quite different in the overall approach, with the RYUSEI obviously being a more vocal centric set. It's smoother, it's brighter, it's cleaner with better overall layering, slightly better when it comes to the details in the high-end micro nuances. However, if your library has more hip-hop, EDM, R&B, jazz, more low-end heavy stuff, then the EW300 with the red nozzles would still be the better fit in that scenario with more low-end engagement texture, whereas again the RYUSEI is the clear winner when it comes to the vocals. Then versus the DEFIANT, both are around the same performance-wise when it comes to the layering, the resolution, with the difference being that the DEFIANT lacks the vocal and treble shine and kind of that like micro nuanced texture that the RYUSEI has in the end notes of the vocals. Although you can argue that the DEFIANT is a better all-rounder because of the tamer treble, more prominence, and the sub bass better balance as an all-rounder set, it is more versatile and safer than the RYUSEI in that sense. But to me, it just doesn't have the sauce that the RYUSEI has. Like if you're gonna spend $100, I rather get the RYUSEI and get something more special. Like QC aside on the DEFIANT, if you're looking for a decent all-rounder that's arguably safer and less bright than the RYUSEI, then the DEFIANT would do a better job as being like a more versatile kind of set. But if you're looking for something more unique like I am, or like I think most of you guys are looking for, especially in the vocals and the treble texture, then I would personally lean more towards the RYUSEI. And as for some other all-rounders like the Supermix 4, the Chopin, the Daybreaks, again similar to the DEFIANTs, those are all going to be better balanced and less bright. If you just hit shuffle all the time with your library and you want again a versatile IEM that can do everything and have pretty good value to performance, then you're better off going with either one of those, Daybreaks, Supermix 4. You can all get them for around $150 and they won't be too bright. On the other hand, if you already have an all-rounder, then my recommendation would be to just get the RYUSEI as they bring something different to the sound, to your collection, without breaking your wallet as well. Like value-wise, you're getting vocal performance better than most $200, $300 IEMs. And speaking of $300 IEMs, vocal-wise, I also prefer the RYUSEI over others like the Studio 4s, the DUNU 242s, which are all more neutral and balanced. Now, yes, those two are going to be more technical when it comes to the layering, imaging, detail, but the technical boost isn't as drastic. Like there's nothing wrong with a balanced sound on the Studio 4s or the 242s or even the Mega 7, which is like $400, but I just don't get the same like musicality and shimmer in the vocals. I don't get any goosebumps. I'm not gonna ascend when I listen to either the Studio 4s, the DUNUs, or the Mega 7 like I do with the RYUSEIs. However, there are some exceptions to this like the T Pros and the Magic Ones if you want a fuller, thicker, less bright vocal presentation, better for male artists, because the RYUSEI does lack a little bit of mid bass and just like overall lower mids to really provide that body and weight to male artists. The Magic One is around the same price, a little bit more expensive than this, but it's gonna sound smoother, fuller, more I guess like naturally correct for my artists, because it can get a bit light at times on the RYUSEI. It doesn't have the same sense of like fullness that the Magic One does or that the T Pros does, which is like a thicker version, a more detailed version of the Magic Ones. So depending on your budget, I think, male vocal-wise, there are still some options out there. And lastly, when it comes to a more laid-back, open, and less bright approach, the Binary EP321 is still one of the few $300 sets that can act as a side grade to the RYUSEI when it comes to female vocals. Now, as a whole, like as an all-rounder, the 321 is going to be the much better pick. It's just more detailed, more technical, I guess better balanced overall. But vocal-wise, they're more of a side grade. Like it doesn't pop out as much in the mids, the end notes as the RYUSEI, or in other words, the vocals aren't hitting you like a bright beam of light. Instead, the 321 trades off that shine and sparkle for a more airy and spacious tonality in the treble, while also being a very good bump when it comes to technical performance. So in conclusion, do I recommend the RYUSEI? Yes, these are a no-brainer if you love vocals, and especially female artists. They are one of the best female vocals for me under $350 that do have the sauce, while being affordable with great overall accessories. If you're looking for something different, these come with a pretty nice cable, nice plating. Give these a shot. However, as an all-rounder, the RYUSEI is still competitive, just not as crazy value-wise as its vocal ranking. They still get a rec and sit around the same level tech-wise, maybe a little bit more as the EW300, but just a bit cleaner, brighter leaning. Watch out for the treble energy on more energetic genres. But overall, I mean, like stock-wise, as an all-rounder, I do still prefer the EW300 by just a little bit because of the better balance. But vocal-wise, obviously, these are a no-brainer. That aside, I hope this review is helpful. Very good release from 7ACOUSTIC and QOA. They don't release a lot of stuff in general, so this is a good and welcome surprise. Let me know what you guys think of this, if you're gonna get it or not, and I will see everyone in the next video. Thanks for watching.
Shout out to Mr. Dom Q, Zenu, B. Urak, Walker Standard, User, Tsukasa, Guava Juice Bane, Polly J, Mr. Gorillas, CT Jack, Henry Claudia, Son of a Horse, 777ZK, Obi, PM the Wizard, Triple Well Extended, Matt Herc, TR8107, Shunbak Lay, Addy, Michael, Trackstar, Raphael, Ori, Juniper, Ryan, Effinadim, Chemika, Raj, Gilbog, Ocean, BC Knight, AK131, MN Gelato, Unbalanced Armature, Vitor Ken, Torcog, Hakase, JRX, Samuel, John Simon, Archie, Sir Eisen, LL Here, JPLA, Blue Nerd, Firto, Watjo, Spinner, Sam Z, Raj, Yaboy, Etune, Grizzly, Leanne, Syracuse, it's Mark, Hedgehogs, Zane, Nustov, Quia Josh, Nerm BMS, Urian, Hightech, Bazardo, Rim1, Mr. Roboto, Ace Goes, GGGG, Gaming X Capsule, Twinkie House AST, Young Mister, and Kevin Kushoa. Thank you guys so much for the support.